For those of you watching this video, hello. I don't know how you've managed to stumble across this, or maybe you already know me, maybe you don't. Well, for those that don't, my name is Jason. This year I was diagnosed with bowel cancer, and it's very difficult to sit down and just talk about cancer because this is still quite fresh in my mind, and I'm here today to tell you my story and what I have been experiencing going through this myself. I found out midway through January that I had stage 1 bowel cancer. Never known anyone with cancer before directly. Never known what it's like to experience this or talk with anyone to know the processes of what you have to go through and what your body itself goes through. So I thought today was the right day to sit down and have a chat, and maybe with what I can share can help those going through the same thing, or maybe those close to me want to find out what it truly has been like for me to go through this process. So stay tuned to this video because I'm going to tell you my story. This is Jaysinn versus Cancer. Doing radiotherapy or getting radiation to my body is a surreal experience. You kind of sit, like for me as well, to my butt. It's like the machine goes around and just applies almost like a laser kind of to that area for me. And you know what? I was like, this isn't. I'm sitting there getting done. This isn't too bad, you know. It's fine. It's not until about an hour after I left the first session I realized how much trouble I was actually in, and if this was my next month, because I had 3.5 weeks to do, 3.5 weeks of sessions. So I got 5 days, then the weekend, 5 days, weekend, 5 days, weekend, Monday to Wednesday, I think it was. Oh boy, I got home, I was sick. I just felt so out of it. My body ached, but I had the craziest dizzy spells of my life. Like, I just felt like I wasn't even on planet Earth. It was wiping me out completely. Now, I have since learned that there's a whole bunch of symptoms you can get. Dizzy, nausea, your body aches, soreness, just you're sleeping all the time. Your skin becomes very acceptable to heat or even slightest of heat. It might feel like there's needles poking your skin. It might, you know, your skin's burning up, like you're running really hot, vomiting, the list goes on. Now, I obviously read that in the information I enclosed with my letter. Never did I think I would experience so many of these so soon. The dizziness, the nausea. I mean, after every session of radiotherapy I did, I was at home vomiting an hour later. It just was not agreeing with my body. So that whole first week of the dizzy spells, the feeling crap, the sleeping, that first week I was wiped. I was completely and utterly wiped. But towards the end of the week, I started getting sores on my body. I don't know if you can see this. There's still some here. I've got one, like, on my hip here. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible. But I started getting them. Now, if they're happening here, I had one behind my ear on my neck, and I don't know why I was getting these sores, but you could only imagine if I'm getting sores here on my body. Could you imagine the sores that I'm getting on my body where this radiation is being administered? My poor butthole literally was a ring of fire. It was scabs all around the outside and on the inside, and it was radiation was giving me the actual shits where I was going like 8-10 times in like a 3-4 hour period. It was just running through me. I couldn't. My body was in all sorts of panic. But when you go to the toilet that much, you've got to wipe. And how do you wipe your butt when all these scabs are constantly splitting and bleeding? It was like a fucking horror show back there. Like, I'm glad I can't really see my own asshole, because I would not want to be looking at it in that state. Like, it felt horrible. And I remember speaking to the oncologist and saying, look, this is not good. They actually had to halt radiation treatment because I was so raw and scabby back there that they couldn't administer any more until my body started to recover. So they actually had to put a hold onto it because it was just reacting in such a terrible way. This, to me, is when I realized, shit, this is not an easy process. And I've only done a week. 1 fucking week is all I had done when my body just started saying, no, we don't like this. It was scary. It was hands in the air to say, I thought I was a really strong person. That was knocking me around. That was seriously knocking me around. After that first week, luckily the girlfriend was back home and helping me, because as I started going back and doing treatment, like, I was just on the decline. I felt so weak. My body just couldn't. It was just an effort to get out of bed and stand on my feet. It was just tiresome. Throwing up, falling asleep on random times of the day, just on a whim, just everything. You didn't even feel like an able body anymore. Like, you weren't even in control of your own body. It's like your thoughts were blocked out, and trying to stay strong when you're like trying to walk to the kitchen or the fridge to get a drink because you're severely dehydrated. You're like having to keep telling yourself that you can do that because your body and your legs underneath you it's an effort to move them. It's an effort to move them. And that's where things got scary. It was one particular Wednesday night in this house. The girlfriend was staying over, and thank goodness she was here. It was getting really, really warm. Got the aircon in the room blasting and cold. You know, it's summer. Going through radiation in summer in Australia, it was like 38 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius days constantly, and the nights were getting down to only like 29, 30. It was just, oh. And you're running hotter because your body's radiating heat. And I just could not cool down. I stood up to, I think I went to the bathroom or to fill up some water, and I stood up. And I just said to my girlfriend, something's not right here. Something is just not agreeing with me. Something's not good. And I just remember, like, almost like blacking out. What I didn't know at the time is luckily the girlfriend kind of pulled me towards the bed, and as I fell onto the bed. And my body went into such a state of shock, I started actually seizuring. I was shaking. I couldn't get control. I didn't remember this. My body was in so much shock. I was just out of it. I came to, and I heard her talking to me, and she was holding my hand, and I just, in all my strength, just kind of squeezed her hand to let her know that I could hear her. Eventually I slowed down. Luckily it was only about a minute. I think she said it was only about a minute, and I was kind of coming to, and when I heard her and I was kind of waking up, I was trying to control my breathing, but I kept squeezing her hand because I couldn't talk. I couldn't convey what I really wanted to say. I couldn't really speak, so I was just trying to squeeze her hand to let her know, and just like in time with my breathing, which was my way of saying, yeah, you know, I am here. I'm still with it. That was scary. It was actually scary. I think it was that night where she realized, like, holy shit, like, I'm not happy you spending nights by yourself, because if that was to happen when no one's here, I'm in trouble. I'm in serious trouble. And the decline just getting worse and worse and worse. And that was 2.5 weeks in. we ended up doing 4 full weeks of radiation. My body has never been so exhausted in all of my life.